All right, well, here we are with Williams Klondike 1971. I just popped new fuses in this to show you. There were all sorts of wrong values and whatnot in there. 20 amps in a 15 amp slot. So we fixed all those problems and got the right fuses back in there. Now I've turned the game on one time. And this was pulled out of a barn here about 2 weeks ago, full of cats and birds and all sorts of fun stuff that shouldn't be in a pinball machine. You can see this match coil here is a complete disaster, but we switched the adjustment to take that off of there. So anyway, now we're going to fire this thing up and just kind of see what's happening. I did do it originally. I first turned it on. I had all of these plugs connected in the head, and for whatever reason, when this plug-in is in, something's pulling in. I can't figure out what. I thought first maybe it was the match, but another coil is pulling in when it shouldn't be right away, and it's making a heck of a buzz. So I disconnected that so we don't keep blowing fuses, and we'll get to the bottom of that problem after we see where we're at with the startup. So I'm going to turn it on. Looking at the schematic, all we should have to do is hit the left flipper button, and it should turn this lock relay on. Now, we have power. And it's a very, very noisy old lock relay. Doesn't seem to be shorted or anything. It just seems to be old and worn out. So, looks like we've got power to the playfield. Okay. Let's see if the flippers, what's going on. Okay, so the game's already in a gameplay situation for some reason. The flippers work. Well, that's good at least. Let's check the out-hole relay switch. Score motor spinning. Okay. Well, we're not in the worst shape in the world. I wonder. Sounds like that's even kicking out a ball. Honestly, it kind of sounds like we could almost play this thing right now, except it's, of course, not going to score. And there's definitely some issues here. All right, well, I think I'm going to get in here and I'm going to sand some of these switches. Maybe take a look at that rat's nest back there and see what's happening and see if we can get this thing all connected together without it blowing a fuse. All right, well, incredibly, all I've done is replace the fuses in here and kick the out-hole switch, poke a few things with my skewer stick in there, and somehow this game is playing. It's got a long way to go before it's resetting correctly and it's scoring correctly, but I'll give you a quick look here. It's nice when you're 5 minutes into a game and it's doing some of the things it's supposed to be doing. Look at that. If we take a look, out holes are working. Nice. We got bumpers working. We're not in nearly as bad a shape as I thought we might be. Let's see what happens. Bam! Kicks out another ball. I doubt it's keeping track of our turns. This game will probably be eternal until we get those steppers back there sorted out, but let's see. See if our slots work. Huh. Oh, that one's dead. Okay, so we've probably got a switch here that's got a broken wire on it. Cool. we'll report back. Okay, so just a quick update on where I'm at. I played the game a little bit longer, and it doesn't keep track of the balls. So the game just goes on and on forever with an unlimited number of turns. So now, taking a look at this guy right here, this is the ball count unit. And I'm just kind of investigating. Everything in here is really, really gunked up. You can see it. It's all dirty. There's probably some sparrows living in here. At one point, who knows? But it's bad. You can tell this thing's been outside for a long time. So I'm going to take my best friend right here with the M Pinballs. The Super Lube I buy at Menards. And I'm going to apply it liberally to these joints in here. And then I'm going to just start wiping this grease and nasty crap off of here and see if I can get this thing freed up. This side here, even when you push the coils in, going in either direction, it can't rotate that by itself without assistance from my hand. So we're going to free this thing up, and we're going to see if we can get it back to the 0 position and back to counting turns again. So we will report back soon. All right, so we're making some progress on this thing. I'll show you. So we cleaned this up and lubed all of these joints with Super Lube real good. And now that seems to be operating pretty well. If it keeps getting stuck, I'm probably going to have to pull that nut over there and get into there a little more with a little more detail. Get it cleaned up. So anyway, we got that back to the 0 position here where it kicks this switch open. We turn on a game, turn on the machine, and it starts there before we even turn our lock relay on. Once I hit that left flipper button, we get light. Oh, it looks like it wants to go. It just flipped from 1 to 2, but it's not getting there. So I imagine it's never going to stop spinning until we get that on track. So now we're going to have to go back here, and we're going to have to get after these dirty messes over here and see if we can clean these up and get these switches operating the way they're supposed to. If you've never looked in one of these before, you'll see there's these switches right here. Let's see if I can get you a good look. Those are the 3 switches that tell the machine whether it's at 0 position, a 9 position, or a 1 through 8 position, which should all be the same. So we're going to take those out, clean those up, and we're going to see if we can make some progress here. Okay, so we were trying to get these score motors reset and working properly, and up in here you can see. But as we were going through, we found this little guy right here. If you look, you can see that just came completely disconnected from that switch there. And that also explains why this was not rotating whatsoever with any power. So we've got soldering iron heating up. We're going to get that reattached and see if we can get this reel back spinning again. I got one more to clean here. You can see the difference. Not sure what happened there. Birds pecked it, maybe. I don't know. I know there were birds in here at one point. Yeah, we're going to get that soldered, then we're going to get through this reel, and then we're going to see if we're starting a game.
A few moments later.
Well, the fun continues. We got all these score reels put back together back here. I can show you what we did real quick. Okay, on the 10s reel, we had to resolder this wire here. That coil was disconnected, so that one wasn't working. This one over here, I showed you before, we had to resolder that joint there. It's on there pretty good. Might not be my most beautiful work, but it's doing the job. But now, when we start the game, this 10-point reel is resetting kind of slowly and locking on. I don't know if I mentioned either, but I did go through when I had each of those reels out, and I sanded every switch in there and made sure it was properly adjusted. This one wasn't quite getting as much switch travel as the rest of them. It's a little more finicky for whatever reason. I don't know if someone messed with it before, but Anyway, now we're still running into the problem where before I even hit the lock relay on, it's already resetting. And then you can see that reel just wants to keep going and buzzing and buzzing and buzzing. Yeah, we better kill that. So you can hear what's happening when we get to the 0 position. It's just locking up and make a heck of a buzz. So kill that right away before we blow a fuse. And we're going to have to figure out why that is happening. So that is where we are at. Oh, and while we were in here, we found that too. So we're going to get this little guy here, get him reattached. And I don't know what it's going to do, but we're going to find out. Okay, well, after much hunting, we found what was causing our 10s to go crazy and lock on, and it was right here. You look at this. This is the left slingshot. That switch, I just bent it open. I bent it nice and wide open. What was happening is kind of a twofold problem here. This is coming down, and then it was staying in this position because it was touching the piston there on the slingshot. And as you can see also, that brown paper there that holds the joint together is kind of worn away. That's allowing that spring to ride up. You can see on this one here, that spring stays down just a fraction further, and that's making a difference. That switch had moved over and was getting bound up in there and then staying closed. So it was probably grounding to the piston, and of course then the switch was staying closed. So really creating a problem. So I tightened that switch up too. The screws were pretty loose. If you look at the end of it, you can see it's busted off. So either it broke off at one point or another, or somebody put an aftermarket switch in the game that wasn't quite the right size, which I would say is probably more likely considering just looking around here, someone did quite a bit of work to this game over the years. So now we start it up, turn it on. I've got the score motor resets going there, but we can see now we're getting to 0 and we're not locking on anymore. Now we're going to put it back into its regular mode and see if we can get it to start a game. I think we still got a break in the chain somewhere between the credit button and where it needs to get to power the score motor on and get the reset cycle going. But we're making progress. We're at least back to resetting to 0s. We're not going to blow any fuses immediately, so I will update once we get a little further. We were having a little trouble earlier. We found this guy over on the side. Of course, it's right here where that is, which makes sense, but we had a ground that was bad, so I just crimped a tube connector on there. Bam, we're back in action. So now if we turn it on, let's hit our left flipper button. We've got juice. Now we should hear the score motor turn as soon as we engage that. We do. And it stops. Everything is in the 0 position. All right, well, this morning, we got the game pretty close to running. We were able to get it to a situation where we could turn the game on, push in the left flipper button to get the lock relay running, and then push the credit button, and it would start a game. However, we're still not able to get this unit, our ball count unit, to fire a cylinder or a coil. We're not getting either of those coils firing when it should be. When we start a game in the 0 position, it doesn't count one up, and when we start a game, when we're at ball 2 or ball 3, even at ball 3, it won't count the steps back down. So something's going on there. I did get this stepper unit cleaned up some yesterday. It's not perfect, but I did get some sandpaper and got those gears cleaned out a little bit, so it's spinning the way it should. And As you can see, I added an extra spring there. Don't judge me. I'll pull that off of there and hopefully it'll be better. But we did what we had to do to get that thing pulling the way it needed to pull. So anyway, now I think we've probably got more issues back, especially up on this little relay. There's just a lot of dirt and grime and stuff in here, and it only takes 5 minutes, so I figured I would just pull this play field or this relay board out of the cabinet, get it cleaned up, double check all these switches, apply some sandpaper, now that it'll be easy to get to, and we're gonna get this cleaned up and see if we can eliminate some of these gremlins we're fighting and see where we're at. So we'll report back after we get that done. Well, all right, we got the playfield back in the game, back screwed down, and now we're going to test this thing out and see where we're at. We did notice one thing. I don't really want to dink around with it too much, but this wire right here is a little bit loose. Notice that when we were bumping the playfield around in there. So if we're not getting power, I think we're going to know where to look. Anyway, let's fire it up. Okay, there's our lock. Let's, there we go. Well, looks like we're started. Oh, we're not quite there yet. Okay, so here we are back in the back of Klondike, where we've been living in recent days. And, what was happening was we were turning the game on and starting it, and it was actually almost starting a game, and it would keep firing this coil right here, just fire and fire and fire forever. So I took my skewer stick and I started smashing down on these legs here. I did sand the Bakelite, I mentioned that, but maybe it wasn't quite enough, or maybe it wasn't getting enough pressure. But after pushing down on those legs while it was just firing repeatedly, it stopped. And that leg that I pushed down on, that changed the state of things. I forced that down a little more strongly, so it's pushing better on that surface in there. And it appears to have resolved our problem. Now let's see if we can make this thing work. So we're already on. We're in a game over state. We should be able to start. And this game, it should count all the way up to 5 balls, and then it should count back down to game over, since it's a balls to play scenario. So we're going to watch it go. Okay, the score is reset. Now we've counted up to 5. Bam! We're in business. Klondike lives again. Now we've got a lot of other things to do. This rubber just looks absolutely terrible. The playfield needs to be cleaned and that kind of jazz, but we've come all the way back to life. Oh, well, check that. Now we're at turn with 8 balls remaining. Maybe we got an extra ball setting going, or a novelty or add a ball setting happening in there. So, yeah. We're going to have a few more bugs, but we're getting close. We've come a long way from where we were. So I will report back once we get this thing in working order. All right, we made a few adjustments in the back. We changed it to 3 ball. We changed the scoring settings a little bit in here. And now we're going to try this again and see if it'll play a 3 ball game. So give her a go. Resetting our scores, back on track. Counting up to 3, that's what we like to see. Kicking a ball out. All right. Bouncing around, all looks well. Counts down to 2. All right. Should count down to 1. It does. All right. you can see that there. Put a nice amount of solder on that terminal to get that back solid. It was just kind of wiggling around in there, and things were kind of running at half power. The out hole was half kicking out. But anyway, we've got all our correct fuses. We've got everything set the way we want it in here. We really seem to be in business. Everything's working great back here. I don't know, I may just leave that spring there. So for all you amazing stepper unit technicians out there, feel free to, give me some grief about that. But it's working, and that's what we want. We want it working, and I can't really see how that's going to be detrimental to the game in the future. Maybe someone will tell me more about that later. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll show you the final product when I get it done. Well, we're back. We were having a good time playing this Klondike machine until all of a sudden nothing was happening on the score motor except it was turning, but no switches were engaging, nothing was happening. It was just spinning eternally forever, not even trying to reset scores or anything. And then I inspected down there and I found this guy. Okay, so that is the tooth that bumps this index relay right at the bottom of this stack, or the impulse relay. It's one of those two. I'd have to look at the sheet, but anyway, so this stack just doesn't move up and down. It just stays there, and without that impulsing, nothing's going to happen. So now I've got the play field, or the relay field, back out of here, and I'm going to try to invent a situation. So I've pulled these screws up, and these switches are all going to come to a million pieces once I take them apart. So I got some Gorilla Tape on the side, and I'm going to try to keep this whole switch stack intact and just get to this bottom one here. And then I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I don't have that particular part, and it's probably going to be tricky to get my hands on, but I do have a flipper switch here. I'm not sure what it's for. It's for some newer pinball machine, but I was thinking maybe I could mount that bad boy down there, and it would reach down far enough where those teeth would push it up and engage those switches. So I'm going to give that a shot. And we'll see if it works, and if it does, great. If not, we'll go back to the parts bin and see if we can find another solution to our problem. So that's where we're at. I'll keep you posted, and hopefully we're playing pinball again soon. All right, so I'm showing you this switchblade here. I had a few of these lying around, and we didn't have the part we needed, so what we did is we invented a solution. If you look down there, this silver blade, the big long one, is new, and then there's one below that you can see. And what I did is I bent a V in that sits down in between these blades, and then secured it down real tight. So now if I rotate this, you can see that it's closing all our switches and then reopening them. A couple of these on the bottom, we did have to just adjust a little bit. Our height changed slightly. Luckily, these switches have those little stabilizer leaves in there, so they're really easy to adjust and set to a way that they'll stay. But anyway, so now we've got that set where I don't think it's going to bind up the wheel, and it's going to bump all of those switches the way it should. It's really, really solid, so it's not going anywhere. And those are steel switches, I believe, so I don't think we're going to break anything off anytime soon. So I guess when pinball gives you lemons, you try to make lemonade with something. So anyway, I'm going to pop this relay field back in the game, and we're going to try to play some Klondike. Be back soon. Okay, well, I never claimed to be smart, and that's because I do things like this, where I left my service jack in the off position. It is now in the on position. But in the off position, the score motor cannot turn on. There's no power. It just cuts the circuit off. So that's why I wasn't starting a few minutes ago after I installed this. But as you can see now, I've got my nice new fancy switch in there at the bottom of the index cam. It's really solid. It's steel, so it's going to hold up for a long time. So now we are going to test this and see if it works. I've got power applied. We're going to hit the lock button. And then we're going to hit that. All right, let's hit the start button. Look at that. We're counting up to 3. We're sitting at 0. Now our out hole should kick a ball out. Perfect. All right, we're back on track. I'll show you some gameplay shortly, but I think we got it reliable now. All right, I've dimmed the lights a little bit just so you can see things better. Those fluorescents are pretty bright up there. But we're about done. We've got a nice coat of wax now on the play field. We got the glass all cleaned up. We got new rubber, new light, and everything's looking really sharp here. So we're going to start a game, see how it goes. All right, scores are resetting. It's counting through to our 3 balls to play position. Ball's kicking out. I would say we have victory. Probably got about 10, 12 hours into this machine total, but definitely worth it. Nice to see a game go from sitting in a barn for I don't know how many years to back to the land of the living. So we'll just play this one for a while and make sure it functions as it should consistently, and then this will probably go out for sale here at some point. So there you go. There's a restoration of a 1971 Williams Klondike.